Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to Primary Market Chatter brought to you by Sunday Investing. This is our August third week IPOs edition. We are running, we are back after a long time and we are running slightly behind time. Sorry about that. Took us some 5 extra minutes in order to get started. But yeah, now that we have started, we'll try and cover up by talking about the 5 companies that we are speaking about. But before we actually get started, just want to say that we were not available last week. Last week, हम space नहीं कर पाए because I was traveling and Rohit and Tanmay were also not available. So uski wajah se, and then there were quite a few issues I think last week. So we've been on and off. We didn't do Manipal, we didn't do Dhoot, we didn't do Molbio, and quite a few other issues, which is slightly disappointing on our end. But we'll try and make up as and when new issues come up. The good part is we are back for now. आज हम 5 companies cover करेंगे. We'll cover 4 Mainboard, which are Gaja Alternatives, Sunshine Pictures, and 2 more, which are Horizon Industrial Park and Lalitha Jewellery Mart. And then we'll do one SME, which is Credent Connect. We'll probably start with Credent Connect, but before I actually set up Credent Connect, just want to highlight a couple of housekeeping announcements. One, we are not SEBI registered. हम लोगों का व्यू बिल्कुल भी क्वालिफाइड नहीं है. Just that what we are planning to do with our own HNI or retail applications. So do not go by what we are saying. Please do your own due diligence. We are wrong multiple times. We have been wrong in the past. We'll probably be wrong in the future as well. So do not go by what we are saying. Please do your due diligence. This is only what we are planning to do with our own applications. Second thing, if you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that right now. We also will. I'll post the space there, and then I'll also post a few. We do a lot of know a promoter series where we actually talk to the promoters in order to understand the company, what it does. So make sure that you listen to them as well, and that is something which gives us the most clarity, at least when we are thinking about evaluating the companies. I got a few comments on last video of a promoter where somebody said that these are not helpful, please don't do them. It's slightly disappointing because those are the ones which actually help us make our views. So would also recommend you also everybody should essentially just try and dig deeper into these so that they can also have a view, and then that's how your conviction comes, and you there's only so much that you can do on borrowed conviction on some because somebody else is bullish. So it's important that you form your everybody forms their own views and then acts basis that. So these are good ways to do that. Not only just this channel, there are multiple channels now where people come in before the IPOs, and especially for small companies as well. Earlier, big companies used to get coverage by CNBCs of the world and Z Business of the world, but small companies we never used to know कि promoter क्या करना चाह रहे हैं. I remember there was this one company where we had invested and were bullish, and it was called Aspire and Innovator, but we never really could talk to the management at all. We never could. There were no listing ceremony, no interview, what they were planning to do. It helps to get that view if the management is coming and talking. So definitely make sure you use that as well in order to just form a view and then basis that take a decision. So those are my two uh, housekeeping things for the day. With that, we'll get started and probably start with the first company. The first company we'll cover is Credent Connect N Care. Setting it up, incorporated in 2015, companies are integrated healthcare services and logistics provider, offering cold chain technology-enabled operations workforce and supply chain solutions to healthcare institutions. So basically, जो diagnostics वगैरह में अपन टेस्ट वगैरह कराते हैं तो उसके लिए जो फ्लीट होती है वो ये मैनेज करते. थिंक ऑफ देम लाइक जेप्टो बट फॉर डॉक्टर लाल. Very crude example. I'm sure Sachin, when you're explaining, you'll talk about it in a lot more detail, but that's how I could essentially just explain the company in very small way. In terms of the IPO, it's a 94 crore IPO, all of which is a fresh issue. 69 crore का IPO था, which in DRHP, which got like upscale to 94 crores. This is a consistent pattern with the LM where the IPOs tend to go up during RHP from DRHP. So let's see. Market cap 344 crores per company आ रही है. FY26 financials की बात करूँ तो revenue 214 crores का है. PAT 18.5 crores का है. So it's coming at like say 19 times FY26. In terms of the LM is AIM Security. So with that, over to you, Sachin, to talk about Credent Connect.
Am I audible, right?
Yeah.
All right. So for Credent Connect, basically what these guys are doing, like everything that happens before that sample that is collected from the patient that goes into the lab for all checking and all diagnostic etc. So before that, everything that happens with those samples, how they are collected, how they are transported from one location to the location of patient to the end location of that lab or physician or whatever. So a trained phlebotomist comes and collects your samples. He maintains the ample temperature while carrying and transporting it. So all of these mechanics, these Credent Connect guys do. Now, why these guys are doing this and not those diagnostic players are doing that all by themselves is because these guys can offer them, those large diagnostic players, some flexibility. Like a phlebotomist from Credit Connect can go and collect multiple samples from be it doctor lab, metropolis से उन्होंने collect कर लिया, and bunch of pharmacy से collect कर लिया, and there are bunch of other diagnostic players, Reliance Health, etc. So all of these guys can collect in one go, and then they can dispatch or maybe take it to their respective places. And these guys are doing this on a pan India basis. So likely their scale is much higher than what Dr. Lal and the likes of Metropolis etc. can do. So these guys are aggregating all of these samples and then transporting them to maybe in city or maybe outside the city limits as well. Multi-city operations भी करते हैं ये लोग. So that is their basic thing. What this Credent Connect is doing. Around 6,500. They have their fleet size is around 6,500 and they are operating around 28 to 29 states. So, and they have all major diagnostic players in every city, and they have a partnership with, be it the local ones in that city or be it the ones that are operating on a pan India level basis as well. And they have also developed one Alltrack, which is their proprietary technology tool to maybe manage all of these components together. Now, coming to the structure of this entity as a whole, the IPO is for this Credent Connect, which is the parent company. There are three other companies as well within this group structure. There is one Credent Healthcare, which is the sample collection arm of all of this group structure. These guys were earlier away from the group structure, and in FY26 only these are consolidated to the parent Credent Connect. So because these guys supply GST exempt services, like जो home sample collection होते हैं, those are GST exempted services. So earlier they were operating on a standalone basis, but due to the IPO and all, now they are consolidated into this parent entity only. The next entity is this Alltrack, and they developed that tech platform to track fleet and to manage human resources, like ये जो भी इनके riders हैं, phlebotomist हैं, उनको manage करना. So that is into Alltrack. And then there is final one Credent team, that is the new consultancy, or you can say this wellness care that these guys are providing to industrial clients, off-site wellness and on-site wellness. So that is the fourth company that is within this group structure. Now, if we see the revenue mix in FY26, around 44% revenue came from that parent Credent Connect, and the sample collection was around 28%. The transportation of these samples from one city or one location to another, that was around 25 to 26%, and the rest, that all of the tech and that wellness part, was around 4 to 5%. In terms of geography also, they are fairly diversified, like Maharashtra, and that in the south region, that is around 29 to 30%. In the north, UP is a big large chunk where all of these diagnostic players operate. So that is around 27 to 30%. Then there comes Delhi and Haryana, etc. that are around 10 to 11%. Now, when I come to their financials, you see that FY24 and FY25 are largely standalone. So those cannot be compared with FY26 when all of these entities were actually consolidated. So that comparison will look wrong if you compare it on year basis, because in FY26 that standalone logistics where they are used to transport samples from one end to another, that grew barely around 7 to 8% only वो grow किया था in FY26. So we take that FY26 is the base year, and from next year onwards we are now comparing it because that would be a much comparable year to go with, like FY26 और फिर जो भी आगे आएगा, so that would be more comparable. Because but इसमें एक चीज है, like the margins are fairly better now, because that sample collection और वो जो sample को transport करना है now, that is now coming into the parent, so now the margins are slightly better at around 13 to 14% EBITDA and around 8 to 9% PAT. And the management is saying that we would likely sustain these margins going ahead as well. They are also saying that now from some of the cities in UP and in the Maharashtra region, we have fairly gained much of the strength. So there we have some good margins, like we have around 30 to 35% operating margins we are getting in the mature cities. And later on, when we diversify and scale up the non-mature cities, yeah, the smaller tier 1, tier 2 cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities, then those cities will likely come up in the value chain also like in the same margin, and they will also come in. Now, when we see working capital is around 60 to 70 days, it looks likely a stretch for this year because all of the entities were consolidated and they have to ramp up their fleet as well. So उसकी वजह से ये थोड़ा सा skewed लगता है, but going forward they are saying that 70 to 80 or maybe 90 max 100 days will be the likely working capital, because all are majorly corporate clients, B2B clients, so no as such worry in part of that working capital. Now coming to the IPO proceeds, around 26 CR is for the working capital of the this sample collection or health Credent Healthcare. Around 37 CR is going to the parents working capital, which is Credent Connect N Care. And then they are also purchasing some sonography machines, around 3 CR is for that, where they will likely scale up into tier 2, 3 cities. Debt repayment is around 6 CR. So major, this is the utilization of all of the IPO proceeds. Now these guys also had one pre-IPO, you can say, around in July 23, in the current year only, where the father of this Mr. The guy who is operating his father, Mr. Ashok Kumar, he sold some shares to, and the likely investors who bought that share was Mr. Ashish Kasholia came in, Abacus Venture came in, and several other AIFs and HNIs also came in, and that price was similar to this IPO price, like that was around 187 rupees per share, and IPO is I think around 189 rupees per share. So this was the pre-IPO that happened just before this IPO came in. Now coming to the positives, like these guys have generally built up that scale and they are replicating it on pan-India basis. And this is just not the general transportation of those samples and collect and transport. They are doing much more, some value addition they are doing in that also, because we see the margins are slightly better than the, what you say, plain vanilla transporting, logistics and what you say, staffing services as well. So unse to better se inke margins hai. And they are also expanding their fleet, like they are saying that we would double the fleet from 6,500 current to, they will expand to around 9,000 plus something in FY27 and FY28 beyond, and which would likely come into the more the fleet, more the sample collection. So that could be an idea of how this business grows going forward. And these guys have clienteles and partnership with all of the major diagnostic players in the countries. So that is one what you say added benefit as well. Now coming to the slight negatives as well, that this Alltrack Technologies, which is their technology arm, so uska matlab that revenue has not grown up much. If you look at a standalone basis, that has actually gone down as well. So how these guys can actually scale that up and maybe sell that to other third parties, that on a standalone basis that they can sell their software. So that would be a key, what you say, tracking metric post listing for this company. Also, I already mentioned that FY26 is the year that we take as the base, because FY24, FY25 so already standalone ही थे. Now coming to the valuation, around 19 times it's on a trailing basis, and whatever their growth is projecting, and which is typical to how HAME prices its issues, it would be around 14-15 times FY27 if they are able to scale their fleet and take that sample collection. If we take that sample collection is also factored in. This lead manager is HAME Security, so no doubt on that. They are one of the good guys present in SME segment. Anchor book was decent as well. Abacus was again in the anchor book. HAME was also a part of the anchor book. Their Cat 3 AF is part of that anchor book. Motilal again has come in, and there are bunch of other anchors, Fin Avenue, LRST, etc., Science Star, etc. So decent anchor book overall. For the final thing, I think that These guys are generally on some scale, like I already mentioned that उन्होंने built up किया है, and they are what you say, they are also giving training to these new what you say college graduates as well, phlebotomists. So उनको training देके they are already onboarding them. What we need to track is those expansion in the fleet and what is a sample collection as well. That is the key metric that we track, and going forward, if they are able to scale in more countries, in more cities across the country, then would be ideally good for these guys. So currently, I'm applying to this issue for now. That's all.
Got it. Thanks, Sachin. थोड़ा सा यूनिक सा बिजनेस है, डिफरेंट, वही ट्रिकी टू वैल्यू इट एज वेल. बट मेरा क्वेश्चन है, ये जो फ्लेबोमिस्ट्स होते हैं, जो भी वट एवर यू कॉल देम, बेसिकली
Right.
कलेक्शन
Mhm.
takers, how
Mhm.
difficult is it to get like them on brand? And like, is there a course which these guys have to do, or like, is it just on the job training which people get? Because like, and right now, is it an organized industry? Is it unorganized? How does the, like, other than Credent, who are the other players in this, etc.? Any
Uh,
number?
on an organized level basis, these guys are the major ones. Like unorganized, the smaller diagnostic chains to hain. Those guys are already onboarding these clients, like college dropouts hain. Yeah, those are into their early years of graduation. They are doing something into the pharma, or they have chosen some stream in pharma. So from there onwards, they are pitched in. Like companies jati hain, they scale up. These diagnostic players also go up, and the local diagnostic chains that are operating in that city. So वो लोग भी वहाँ पे जाते हैं in colleges, they scale it up and they bring those phlebotomists on board. फिर general training like every organization gives to each to his own. तो वहाँ पे वो training तो already देते हैं. So these guys are also doing what these guys are saying, that कि हम यही सेम चीज, द ट्रेनिंग एंड द ऑनबोर्डिंग एंड टेकिंग ऑल दिस गाइस इन, उनको वी कैन रेप्लिकेट ऑन number of clients. Like we can do it for Dr. La, we can do it for Metropolis, we can do it for Reliance, XYZ, जो भी हो, we can do it for n number of players. So वहाँ पे एक scale का जो benefit है, these guys are offering on an organized space. Unorganized is obviously large enough, so that is not pretty much tracked.
बट फिर ये आपस में शेयरिंग नहीं होता है क्या? मतलब ये कॉमन एक, ये इनकी जो बुक्स पे रहता है वो फिर लाल के लिए भी काम कर सकता है,
Right,
और
right,
उसके लिए
right,
भी यहाँ पर कि सब ये मेन पावर, लाइक आई एम ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड, डू यू कंपेयर इट टू विद द फैसिलिटीज मैनेजमेंट कंपनी, और वुड बी टू मी, लाइक दैट वुड प्रोबेबली नॉट बी अ गुड कंपैरिजन, बिकॉज
uh,
फैसिलिटीज मैनेजमेंट कंपनियों को तो नहीं मिलता है पी, वो बहुत सारी आई भी हैं जो
right,
मेन पावर सप्लाई करती है, राइट? सो
right.
हाउ आर दीज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम दैट, एनीथिंग दैट यू कुड गैदर?
Like I would say that these guys जो भी इनके phlebotomist हैं, they can operate for n number of diagnostic players. Like वो डॉक्टर लाल के भी samples they can track, they can take off Metropolis, they can take off Reliance and whatever the local players हैं, तो सबके वो ले सकते हैं. Now taking those samples and collecting those samples, that is where the value addition is. Like taking the right like वो जो प्रॉपर नीडल है या जो प्रॉपर ट्यूब है, कि किस ट्यूब को पहले लेना है एंड किस ट्यूब को बाद में लेना है. तो दैट इज वेयर द वैल्यू एडिशन इज, कि वो एक नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. सो दैट अ रैंडम गाय कैन नॉट डू. लाइक उसको कुछ नॉलेज होनी चाहिए बेसिक, की हाउ यू पियर्स द injection in the body of that individual, how you take that sample, how you carry it, and in what temperature you carry it, in what box you carry it. So वो एक जनरली जो नॉर्मल ट्रांसपोर्ट गाय या लाइक व्हाट यू से फैसिलिटी मैनेजमेंट गाय या कोई भी नॉर्मल आदमी जाके नहीं कर सकता है. So that is the small component of value addition.
गॉट इट. एंड इनने कोई पीए दिखाया है क्या अपना?
No, no
अभी
listed
में नहीं
peers.
दिखाया होगा
No
ना, सो
listed.
इट विल बी
No listed.
डिफिकल्ट टू
Right.
फिगर ऑल्सो.
Just for a comparison, if we look at the past year of HAME, past issue of HAME, like Q line आया था, so similar pharma space, not very identical,
नहीं
but
नहीं 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 नहीं
just
नहीं नहीं यार, नहीं 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 नहीं, क्यू लाइन से तो कहाँ कंपेयर कर रहे हो यार? क्यू
just
लाइन तो
just to get a
डिवाइस मैन्युफैक्चरर है यार,
market
ये तो
multiples.
नहीं 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 नहीं. आई रिफ्यूज टू. क्यू लाइन मैंने विजिट किया था, एंड दिस गाय somehow is like, other than him, this and all the star names in, I'm somehow still like, this guy's giving me a facilities management wala vibe, because they're managing manpower, right? Like outside of that, somehow I'm like, I'm unable to get it. But yeah, at least at IPO price, there is absolutely no risk per se. So I'll also be applying to the issue. The anchor book is very good. There's a pre-IPO as well. And इसमें अभी upside भी हुआ ना, DRSP से
Right, right,
RSP में
right,
आते आते 30% बढ़ गया.
right,
Maybe they
right.
wanted to do a IPO earlier before FY26. That could be the only reason which I can think of. Otherwise, I don't understand why like things will move
Like वो
suddenly.
जो कंसोलिडेशन हुआ बिटवीन द एंटिटीज, सो वर्किंग
Hmm.
कैपिटल लिमिट्स आर नाउ ट्वाइस, लाइक एक पेरेंट का भी है, देन एक द हेल्थ केयर का भी एक है, तो डबल वर्किंग कैपिटल लिमिट्स, तो दैट इज आइडियली व्हाई द आईपीओ साइज इज मोर.
Got it. I'll also read more. I also want to understand जो नया entity है जिसमें आप बोल रहे हो कि track करते हैं ये लोग लोगों का performance वगैरह, how that will work. But at least at IPO price, so definitely should apply. In the short term, I don't feel there's any risk. Should give something, and then there might be a move like Anavil as well if it lists at a comfortable price. So yeah, I'll be applying to this issue. With that, we'll move forward and talk about the second company. Wow, Tanmay is not here, no? Tanmay, can you hear me?
I think he is not on the call yet.
Let me find him. पहले देख लेता हूँ. But let me move forward and talk about the second company. The second company we'll be covering is Sunshine Pictures. This is a company which we have also done a Novo promoter for. So if you haven't listened to the interview, go ahead and do that as well, where you can listen to the interview at your own leisure. But yeah, Tanmay is back, so let me quickly set up Sunshine Pictures. Incorporated in 2007, company is a production company engaged in business of originating, creating, developing, producing, marketing, and distributing films, TV series, and web series. So it's विपुल अमृतलाल शाह करके एक फेमस प्रोड्यूसर एंड डायरेक्टर है, उनकी कंपनी है which produces films etc. In terms of the IPO, it's a 282 crore IPO, 173 crore fresh and some 109 crores का OFS है. IPO 1121 करोड़ पे आ रहा है, 1100 करोड़ पे. 282 करोड़ है, लगभग 25% का डायल्यूशन है. FY26 फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो रेवेन्यू 76 करोड़ का है, पैट 40 करोड़ है. सो 40 करोड़ के पैट पे कंपनी अराउंड 30 टाइम्स आ रही है. In terms of the LM is GYR Capital Advisors. So with that, over to you, Tanmay, to talk about Sunshine Pictures.
I'm audible.
Yeah.
So, Sunshine Pictures Limited is a production company which is, engaged in the business of, originating, developing, producing, and marketing and distribution of the films, web series, music productions, and also, few, regional cinemas as well. So it has been started by Mr. Vipul Amrutlal Shah and his wife Shefali Shah, who, she's also a quite veteran actress as well. They have produced some notable movies like Force, Commando, Force 2, Holiday, Commando 2, The Kerala Story. Recently they did the Governor web series. They had done Buster, and they have done again Action Replay and, few other movies. So, like predominantly they have done like 6 movies with Akshay Kumar. So, they operate in that mid-budget segment, movies. The company also, has YouTube, Instagram, Facebook sort of a presence with over 10 crore cumulative views. So the company is, raising around 280 crore, sort of an IPO size. उसके उसमें for 173 crores का fresh issue है, 109 crores का offer for sale है. So they are raising money predominantly for that working capital thing and, for investing in their further projects. So, talking on their financials, like I was, quite amazed with the finance. मैं आपको पहले सिर्फ financials बताया था, फिर मैं बताता हूँ like what exactly the things have shaped up. FY24 में they did 140 crore का top line, 53 crores का PAT, which was on the back of the Kerala Story 1 doing fantastically well. FY25 they did 106 crore top line and 34.5 crore sort of a PAT, and FY26 76 crore revenue and 40 crore PAT. So revenues have been fallen like 30% every year, and profits, margins at least are going into the higher trajectory. So if you just check their P&L, the balance sheet, the inventory portion as a whole have grown from mean 24 crores in FY 24-25 at 275 crores in FY 26. So what they've done is उनका जो मीडिया कंटेंट अंडर प्रोडक्शन का जो 67 करोड़ का एक्सपेंस है वो उन्होंने कैपिटलाइज कर दिया है और इसको इन्वेंट्री में डाल दिया रादर देन टेकिंग इट एज अ रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. But this is contingent because the day this movie goes public or goes live, these expenses are going to come on the P&L, and if the movie fails to do well in the box office, this actually takes the company to directly a net loss, because these are such a humongous 40, 30, 40 crore sort of an expense. The company also had some 24 crore ka equity investment, so they have completely 100% liquidated to fund that movie, and they are coming with an upcoming movie called as Samukh, which is going to be India's first, alien related movie. So, it is a scientific thriller, Akshay Kumar starring, and, the producer and, all the animation guys from Venom and, again, two, three very famous Hollywood movies are working on this particular cinema. So, they are set to, finish their production, I feel this month, last week, and that should go live early next year. So, if that kicks in, the numbers can go very crazy for the company. But if it fails to do so, those 50 crore expenses which are going to come on the P&L are going to kill the margins like anything. They're also doing few regional cinemas. They're doing a very very large star cast web series which the promoter expects ki अगले साल का that is going to be the most buzzing, so one of the most buzzing shows in the country is what he expects. So that is also supposed to be a fairly large one. मतलब ज्यादा है नहीं इस कंपनी में बात करने के लिए. लाइक फर्स्ट इज their history has been quite great. The Kerala story as both the parts have taken company to a very different scale, from which this company was before COVID. The promoter enjoys quite a good reputation. He has worked with fairly good set of actors as well. So, my view is pretty simple. So, there are two, three nuances to it. First is, history has been decent. The future also looks good, but it is very contingent to how the upcoming movies and projects do. And this is how the whole industry works. A good thing what they have is they have got some recurring, this music related revenues. They have got some, rights for their past movies, which they can again put in sequels and commercialize it. They have got some recurring revenues from broadcasting thing, but that again is a smaller part of the whole revenue, and that is here to stay with good margins. But this upcoming movies, can either take it to a very different higher, can break the financial, on the financial standpoint as well. This segment also works in the similar way. It is like a project to project basis thing. The whole segment as a whole works that way. Like if you just look at the data, like we feel ki cinema as a whole is going into a downward trajectory, but the numbers continue to inch up, and the level of multiplexes and the level of content consumption is just going up. India sits at the lowest per capita consumption for entertainment in the world. Matlab it is like less than 1/10 of what US is. US stands at 4% of the GDP. India is at barely 0.3, 0.4%. So it can go 10x from here also. But again, these are slightly riskier businesses. But yeah, if it does well, can do well. So I feel I might be applying for very short term for listing just because of couple of things. One is anticipation. There are quite good rumors that this movie should do this well, and we have got GYR, which is known for decent listing वगैरह thing. But I will be surely hesitating to keep this in the longer term before looking at how things pan out on their upcoming projects. FY 27, I'm not sure how the numbers are going to sustain. So like overall, risk takers can apply for listing is baki. For longer term, I'm not very comfortable at this point. Overall, there is nothing wrong in the company, but as a segment, this is not what my taste is.
गॉट इट. थैंक्स तन्मय. सो एक बात बताओ, ये लोग आजकल तो हेज कर देते हैं, राइट? लाइक 90% ऑफ द कॉस्ट कम्स बिफोर इवन द मूवी रिलीजेस, राइट? थ्रू योर
हाँ
Netflix
नहीं, यू आर
selling
राइट,
rights to
यू राइट।
Netflix,
ये जो
etc.
वेब सीरीज ओटीटी फॉर्मेट है ना, इसमें तो दे टेक द प्रोडक्शन एक्सपेंसेस फुल्ली फ्रॉम द प्लेटफॉर्म। बाकी बट क्या होता है, ये ना बजट पे भी डिपेंड करता है। अभी जो लो बजट या उससे मिड टू वो मीडियम बजट में जो नीचे का सेगमेंट होता है, वो उसमें पूरा ये काम हो सकता है। बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ हाई बजट मूवी एंड तो पॉसिबल नहीं, बिकॉज यार लाइक ये जो प्रोजेक्ट्स अभी कर रहे हैं ना, दीज आर वेरी, क्या बोलते हैं ना, यार या पार वाले प्रोजेक्ट है। इट कैन डू फैंटास्टिकली 600 करोड़ बेट, और इट कैन फेल टू 60 करोड़, और बीच का इसमें कुछ नहीं है। सो लाइक इन सच सॉर्ट ऑफ अ प्रोजेक्ट, उसमें कोई हेजिंग नहीं होती है, दिस इज नॉट वन ऑफ दोज। एटलीस्ट
होती
ये
होगी
हाई
यार,
बजट में नहीं
होती
होता
होगी,
है, ये
होती
लो
होगी,
बजट में वो
होती
चलता
होगी,
है ये सब।
होती होगी. So they sell the rights, no, to Netflix or to Disney Hotstar or somebody, and that covers a majority of the uh, cost of the movie. I think that is what was
यार ये ना
mentioned in the interview as
ऑप्टिमिस्टिक्स
well.
का मॉडल है, ये सनशाइन का मॉडल नहीं रहा हिस्टोरिकली। But these guys are not very predominantly web series and OTT wala people. They continue to believe in that proper cinema and theater based movies
हाँ, बट
rather than
वहां पे
selling
भी
that.
ये होता है भाई, वहां पे भी, बिकॉज
हाँ नहीं,
सिनेमा
होता
में
है
एक
यार,
बार
बट
मूवी
लाइक
आ गई तो
लाइक
otherwise
आई
it has to come on a
मुझे
Netflix or a Hotstar,
मुझे
right?
ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि ये शाहरुख जैसी मूवी को कोई प्लेटफॉर्म पे वो कॉस्ट पे बेच पाएगा।
क्यों नहीं बेच पाया?
यार नो
लाइक,
वन इज श्योर अबाउट दीज मूवीज, हाउ ग्रेट और हाउ बैड दीज कैन गो।
इंटरेस्टिंग.
वॉलेटाइल प्रोजेक्ट्स में दिक्कत होती है यार, जो स्टेबल एंड लो बजट में होता है ना, वो बिक जाता है आराम से।
Got it. Let's see. But yeah, so it is in a way like can go either direction, right? You have to take
करेक्ट,
a call basis on
करेक्ट।
how you feel, like if somebody likes movies and
एंड एफ 27 में यार लाइक मुझे नहीं पता हाउ दिस फाइनेंस आर गोइंग टू शेप। मेरे पास कोई जवाब भी नहीं इसका, बिकॉज देयर इज नो सच लॉन्च। गवर्नर के नंबर्स नहीं आए। गवर्नर वाज द ओनली डिसेंट साइज ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट दे वर डूइंग इन दिस फाइनेंशियल, उसके नंबर्स नहीं आए। तो लाइक नॉट
let's see,
श्योर ऑन
let's
एफ
see,
27
let's
एक्चुअली।
see, let's see. FY 26 में क्या था? क्योंकि
26 में
केरला
यार,
स्टोरी was like
Kerala
25,
Story
right?
2.
हाँ केरला
Kerala
स्टोरी 2
Story,
चला था।
Two
but
भी है
then
क्या? Okay.
2 came in February, but then Durandar came in. Then we all know what happened.
नो, दोस्तों 72 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू किया इन्होंने 26 में, उसमें से समझ के चलो 45-47 वॉज फ्रॉम केरला स्टोरी 2। तो अगर
That
मैं वो निकाल दूं तो लाइक,
वो भी नॉस्टैल्जिया पे ही है कि लाइक केरला स्टोरी 1 चली थी तो 2 भी चलनी
वन
हाँ,
वाज
चाहिए.
one
had
to
went
the
blockbuster,
92,
two did actually didn't
basically.
went that great.
But one तो बहुत चली. And this like Vipul Amritla is also associated with Namaste London, right? तो वो कोई
करेक्ट।
सीक्वेंस था उसका क्या? मतलब तब कोई और में करता था क्या? Like how they, but I was seeing उसमें नमस्ते लंदन का नाम तो नहीं है ये सनशाइन में.
हाँ
That's
हाँ,
how
शायद
I-
शायद वो बहुत पहले होगा ना ये, मतलब शायद 2013 में इसका इनकॉर्पोरेशन, तो शायद उससे पहले का प्रोजेक्ट है जितना मेरे को याद है ऊपर से।
correct, correct. Very nostalgic, but yeah, I'll be applying.
शॉर्ट टर्म शायद हो जाए, बट यार लॉन्गर टर्म नॉट श्योर।
I'll be applying. Let's see. But yeah, it's very like the segment is not something which has made money in the past.
यार वो इन्वेंट्री का जब मैंने पढ़ा ना, तो एंड दैट इज वेरी लार्ज स्केल यार, वो 60 करोड़, ऑलमोस्ट 55-60 करोड़ जो पीएनएल पे उतरेगा। तो लाइक आई फील दैट कम हैज टू डू इंसेनली वेल, देन ओनली दोज एक्सपेंस आर गोइंग टू गेट कवर्ड। ऑब्वियसली द वेब सीरीज, ये जो अपना वेब शो है ना, ये वेब सीरीज जो भी है, इट इज लाइक अ शो, आई गेस ऑनलाइन शो, ओटीटी शो, दैट शुड डू वेल, जितना मैंने टॉप ऑफ दैट समझा। आई एम प्रीटी कीन कि दैट विल डू वेल, बट दिस इज सामुक इज वेयर ऑल द आईज आर लाइंग।
Got it. Let's see. If somebody has a better view, they can take a long-term call. In short term, I feel this IPO price will be protected, so can be applied. With that, we'll move forward and talk about third company. Third company view. अभी तक कौन-कौन सी करी आपने? Sunshine and
सनशाइन क्रेडेंट की।
Credent. दोनों में similar था. But yeah, third company we'll be covering is Horizon Industrial Parks. Setting it up. Incorporated in 2009, company backed by Blackstone is India's largest industry and logistics infrastructure developer, owner and operator by Total Network. Setting up the IPO, it's a 2600 crore IPO. 2600 crore का IPO at a market cap of 17,300 crores. So 20% approximately 17, 15, 7, 16% का dilution है. In terms of FY 26 financials की बात करूं तो revenue 768 crores था. PAT was minus 203 crores. So PAT was negative 203. तो कोई बोल ही नहीं सकता 100 का पी है, 150 का पी है, पी ही नहीं है. Which is good. LM की बात करो तो LM, JM, Axis, SBI, IFLN 361 है. So talking about Horizon Industrial Parks, I haven't really noted down points in a structured manner, so I'll be slightly unstructured, but I'll talk about what I could understand from the company. So Blackstone का portfolio company है. Blackstone is a very significant PE group, and they are the ones who kind of also introduced REITs in India. The Embassy REIT, probably one of the first few REITs which was launched in India and has done very well, was Blackstone. The last REIT which came, I think, was Bagmane. Bagmane was again Blackstone, which did well. This is a very similar structure. This is a REIT disguised as a equity investment because they want to keep guzzling in more money. Like REIT में क्या होता है, आपको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करना पड़ता है अराउंड 80% ऑफ ऑल योर नेट ऑपरेटिंग इनकम. बट यहाँ पे दे वांट टू कीप स्पेंडिंग मोर मनी. दैट इज वेयर दे आर कमिंग इन विद दिस IPO. तो मैं आपको मॉडल बताता हूँ. बेसिकली द कंपनी इज अ 6 year old कंपनी, बॉम्बे हेडक्वार्टर्ड, प्योर प्ले वेयर हाउस एंड इंडस्ट्रियल फैसिलिटीज लीजिंग कंपनी. तो ये वेयर हाउस के क्लस्टर्स बनाती है इंडिया में, एंड इसके 45 एसेट्स हैं 10 सिटीज में, एंड दे हैव अ नेटवर्क ऑफ अराउंड 58 million square feet, out of which 28 million is today operational, एंड बाकी जो 30 million है वो हर साल अगले 5 साल तक 6 million टाइप का ऑपरेशनल होगा. इसमें जो 28 million है, इसमें बेसिकली 16 million जो है वो फुलफिलमेंट सेंटर्स हैं, जो कि वेयर हाउस हैं. हाउ विल थिंक ऑफ इट, वेयर लाइक FMCGs एक्सेट्रा, दे पुट इन देयर मटेरियल एंड देन समथिंग हैज टू बी मूव्ड. That is done through that. Then around 11 million is industrial facilities, जहाँ पे light manufacturing type की facility हो सकती है, last mile assembling वगैरह. And then there is some 1 million square feet of multi-use in city centers. These are like dark stores, cloud kitchens, etc. And इसका अराउंड 100% कैपेसिटी पे ऑपरेट करता है. जो रिमेनिंग 2 है वो 92, 95 से ऑपरेट करते हैं. तो ओवरऑल 95% कैपेसिटी पे ऑपरेट करते हैं. तो बहुत अच्छी ऑक्यूपेंसी पे ऑपरेट करते हैं, एंड दे आर ग्रेड ए क्लस्टर्स. तो जो भी बड़ी कंपनियां होती हैं, MNCs वगैरह होती हैं, वो जिनको हैसल नहीं करना होता है टू डेवलप, दे काइंड ऑफ यूज दीज warehousing and industrial facilities. Think of them like WeWork, but for industries and warehousing per se. That's the model that you're looking at. Just one difference. And in fact, that's something which I'll come at. And as well, WeWork doesn't own any land. So उनका तो प्योर प्ले आर्बिट्राज का मॉडल है कि भाई 100 रुपए में किराए पे लिया बड़ा पार्सल, और फिर 120, 130 जहां पे फंसा आदमी वहां पे बेच दिया, राइट. बट दीज गाइस ओन द लैंड पर से, एंड देन दे develop it. So that's about the basic model. They have 118 clients across manufacturing, auto, FMCG, renewable energy, e-commerce. So basically all big companies. Tier A is where they are. There are a couple more other players as well which will come in this segment, who will be bigger, but these guys have also developed very, very fast. In the last 6 years, they have gone from 10 million square feet to 30 million square feet, and then over the next 5 years, they are committing that they will go to 60 million square feet. अब IPO पे आते हैं, तो ये IPO कर रहे हैं अराउंड 70. कंपनी पे बहुत डेट है. सो बाय द वे, कंपनी इज सुपर कैश फ्लो पॉजिटिव. मतलब कंपनी के अगर आप फाइनेंशियल्स देखोगे तो कंपनी का जैसे FY26 में 800 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन था, 767 करोड़, आउट ऑफ विच EBITDA is 607 करोड़. तो EBITDA तक सब बढ़िया है, 607 करोड़ का EBITDA है. पर उसके बाद बॉटम लाइन पे -204 करोड़ का लॉस है, बिकॉज बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट है. 540 करोड़ इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट है, क्योंकि इनने डेप्ट ले रखी है बुक्स पे. आई थिंक अराउंड समवेयर अराउंड 6000 करोड़ इज द डेप्ट. लेट मी लुक एट द एग्जैक्ट नंबर विच आई कैन टेल यू. 6,884 crores की डेप्ट है बुक्स पे, which kind of kills the top line, kills the bottom line, and it becomes negative. 570 crores का bottom line expense आता है, and then there is further depreciation, जो इनने facilities develop की हुई है वगैरह, उसका 270 करोड़ का depreciation है. the good part is they are paying a part of their this raise is basically for paying the debt off. So this company will become PAT positive as well in FY27, but will again become PAT negative. So because they'll again take a lot of debt because they still have to develop 30 million more square feet, and every square feet, according to the interview the CEO gave, takes 2,200 rupees to develop. So they are again looking at a huge capex of around 6,000 crores over the next 5 years, which will be partly done through internal accruals, and then partly they'll again take debt. So in a way, this is a very fast growing company, very good segment, very good sector, but you're taking a lot of risk for not so much return. I'll come back to the financials probably when I'll talk about it. Before that, maybe I'll just talk about, so they're coming at an IPO price of rupees 60, which leads to around 17,000 crores of MCAP. And then some 2,000 crore का इन पे debt बचेगा after repaying the current debt. So enterprise value comes to some 19,000 crores. That's where they are coming at. And their current sales is around 764. So in a way, they are coming at some 25 times sales. Although you shouldn't look at it by sales at all, but it's just an insanely obscene number when you think about it. इसमें ना 8-9 महीने पहले एक pre-IPO हुआ था, which had quite a few names. The pre-IPO was done in December 25, so exactly 8 months ago. Pre-IPO was 1,650 crores. Again, 361 put in 700 crores. SBI Life put 200. Radhakishan Damani put 200. Nuvama put 80, and then a few other funds also put in. Total 1,650 at same price, like 59.8. Right now the IPO is at 60. So there's some benchmark to the valuation, but still the valuation seems obscenely high. I'll talk about it. So मैं जब पहले देख रहा था मैं सोचा कि इसको वीवर्क वगैरह के साथ कंपेयर करते हैं, तो वीवर्क वगैरह ट्रेड करते हैं हम 10 times EV EBITDA at best. This guy is coming at some 35 times EV EBITDA. Like इनका EV EBITDA is 607 crore का इसका EBITDA है. Enterprise value, like I said, is 19,000 something, so 32-33 times EV EBITDA. But then WeWork में क्या है कि जो लीज पेमेंट है ना वो नीचे आती है, तो इसलिए वो सेगमेंट ही गलत है, प्लस उनके पास लैंड भी नहीं है, so this shouldn't be looked at that. You will probably think of it as a because they'll grow so fast, they'll cut their EBITDA very, very fast is what the everybody is trying to like say, right? But you are entering in at around 32 times. And then I was doing some calculations. The company is saying they'll grow very fast. They'll do, organically, they'll grow around 20%. Like they'll go from 30 to 60 in 5 years, million square feet. And then they'll also do inorganic acquisitions, etc. So they'll just grow super fast. Even if you assume all of that they do end up growing 30%. Year over year for 5 years, and then you assume a very optimistic 20 times EV EBITDA in FY31 after 5 years. If the company actually delivers to grow at 30%, and if the company still gets 20 times EV EBITDA at that moment of time, because then it would become a huge mammoth asset, right? So tab growth itni possible nahi ho, 20 times milega ki nahi is a question, right? If you do all of that, then you get a double multiple, right? Which is somewhere around 20% CAGR. 15-17% CAGR. 5 saal mein double is around 15-17% CAGR. So everything needs to go in your favor from this valuation for you to make 15% over next 5 years. So in a way, you are taking equity risk in order to get REIT returns. That's how this product is kind of coming in at as pricing. It is superbly expensive, like very, very, very expensive. Can't fathom why it is so expensive. I'll just give you an example. एक TVS की warehousing and industrial REIT INVIT, not REIT, INVIT listed है. It's listed as in जैसे अभी क्यूब था ना, वैसे ही वो भी privately listed है. वो कभी ना कभी public होगा. That trades at 17 times EV EBITDA. So that is fairly stable क्योंकि उनको तो 80% income distribute भी करनी है because it's INVIT etc. But that's where you will trade once you are stable. सो अगर आपका वो 20 टाइम्स जो मैंने माना है वो 17 टाइम्स कर लूं, या फिर वो 30% ग्रोथ जो है उसको मैं 25% कर लूं किसी कारण से, और मैच goes for a toss, you make 10% only for the next 5 years. So you'll like probably become 1.1 rupee will become 1.5 rupees over the next 5 years. So it's superbly expensive. Couldn't fathom why it would, like, they have just came in so expensive. Maybe the last multiple was such that they had to kind of come at that number. Uh, Anchor book की बात करूं तो Anchor book was okay, could have been better. There were a few mutual funds and few FIIs who were leading the book. FIIs like Carnegie was there, who almost every Blackstone IPO comes in. Then there were a few funds like JM, White Oak, etc., who are PGIM, etc., were also there. And then there is a sizable allocation to ODI funds. Society General ODI has some 10%. Morgan Stanley ODI is there. And then there were a few other ODIs, BNP Paribas ODI, Citigroup ODI. ODIs are usually not seen the most, like, although it depends, right? So there's no clear answer to that, but ODIs are not all usually seen as a very strong name. They usually come in when allocation is rather freely available, for the lack of a better word. So, not very convinced with the pricing. Like, just to put in perspective, even if I, let's say, assume that they do 800 crores of EBITDA in FY 27 this year, then also they are coming, because their enterprise value is some 19,000 crores, including debt of 2,200. They are coming at a multiple of around 25 times. And that is like 4% yield, right? Like, all REITs give 6 to 7% of yield. So then also there's like, it's trading at 50% premium. And that is all because of growth. They are just suggesting so much growth, but that needs to happen, right? If it doesn't happen, that is a lot of questions, right? So in a way, you're taking one is taking too much risk. If everything goes picture perfect, CAGR in this investment will be 15% over the next 5 years. So I somehow am not convinced. Listing gains, I don't see any. So I will probably skip. They have, like, although they are building this category, industrial warehousing, etc., great category, great segment to be in the future, but probably slightly expensive and slightly ahead of the curve. They've done well in REIT, so the hope is that they can do well here, and probably after listing is when this can be tracked if it corrects, or if there is some period of time where this is lull, because this is very stable sort of income. The income will come. So you can, like, very accurately predict the next time का number क्या होगा, looking at the calls, etc. So we'll definitely add it to my watch list, but not at this price. No, I am not a buyer at this price. And Blackstone also has a hit and miss, at least in equity, right? IGI came in, which was a OFS disguised as a fresh issue, didn't perform. Other housing hasn't performed as much per se. So somehow I'm not very optimistic about this issue. I still think institutions will buy it slowly and gradually, and this will be institutional stock. I don't see it as a retail stock per se at all. That's my view of Horizon Industrial Parks. Sorry if I was slightly unstructured, as I didn't plan it. Tanmay, Sachin, you have anything to add on Horizon, or we can probably move forward and talk about Gaja alternatives?
Like I'm having, pretty similar sort of, क्योंकि बहुत अच्छा कंपनी है. I feel PAT positive. They'll feel in FY 28. I mean, if Q4 FY 27 of this FY should be slightly a PAT positive thing, but again, it is coming at those numbers which I'm not sure are sustainable or not. But yeah, I'm yet to make the modeling and उसका equity value वगैरह वो सब मैंने calculation किया नहीं. I should do it tomorrow. I'll put it in my post. But yeah, more or less, I feel it is not cheap. Expensive है कि नहीं, I'll see, but cheap तो नहीं, उतना तो मैं sure हूँ. Yeah.
You'll calculate, you'll find it at least 50% extra
Correct.
expensive. It is very expensive, not
एंकर बुक
expensive.
भी बहुत कमजोर थी यार. मेरे को तो देख के लगा कि ये कौन सी क्या देख लिया मैंने, मतलब एकदम ही फालतू एंकर बुक थी.
Very,
Doesn't
very.
make sense with those names.
But yeah, let's see. We'll keep a track
Arre,
on
by the way, I have
QIP.
visited Horizon in Pune. Yaar. I've seen Horizon.
It's a
The
great
infrastructure is
facility. Facility
fantastic.
will be good, but
But what
प्राइसिंग
price it is
ऐसी
coming
होती है
also matters.
कि हाँ प्राइसिंग ऐसी होती है कि तुम वो कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं ना, तो
मैं
वही
3 महीने
प्रॉब्लम है.
पहले गया था यार इन वन ऑफ दी मैं कहाँ गया था, मैं सुकृत गया था, मैं क्वालिटी फॉर की फैसिलिटी में. दैट टाइम आई हैड विजिटेड, इट वाज नियर केएसएच इंटरनेशनल का फैक्ट्री ओनली. प्रिटी गुड. बहुत अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर था, बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट था. बट
और
या
पता है ये
अगेन
लोग फिर से लोन लेंगे क्योंकि इनको अभी तो और डेवलप करना है, राइट? तो 6-7 हजार करोड़ का नेट ब्लॉक और जोड़ेगा तो वो इतना थोड़ी कैश फ्लो आएगा कंपनी में, तो फिर से लोन आएगा तो फिर से नेगेटिव हो जाएगा पैट. तो मतलब ये 2-3 साल तक क्यों मौका देगा, ये कभी ना कभी कभी तो मौका देगा अच्छी वैल्यूएशन. अभी नहीं, अभी तो आई एम नॉट अ बायर एट ऑल unless if something is happening in QIB, I may play it for a day where I'll sell it on listing, but that is my only. But I find that also very difficult. Like
नहीं
I
होगा यार,
don't think.
बियरली 3 to 5x होगा ये QIB, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होगा.
वो भी like let's see.
आई नो आई नो व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू से. समझ
I
गया
think
मैं.
उसमें मस्त अलॉटमेंट मिलेगा अगर किसी को चाहिए तो. But ये बहुत ही मतलब why you like this makes no sense, right? Why would you risk equity in order to get fixed returns like REIT level returns?
लाइक मुझे लगता है ये ना कोई एक बड़े पी इन्वेस्टर के साथ कोई राउंड कर लेते और 2500 रेस कर लेते थोड़ा 10-20% डिस्काउंट पर, फिर आईपीओ करते 2 साल बाद, शायद वो बेटर प्लान होता.
Let's see. Although they are still holding 75% after this also. And the management said they are very bullish on this segment, which they should be. It's a very fast growing segment. So they'll continue to hold. But पता नहीं चलता यार ये
व्हाट आई नो
IPO.
यार कि इससे कुछ 2 से 3 गुना बड़ा प्लेयर इनसे सस्ता आ रहा है इन विद इन अ ईयर, मच मच विद इन अ ईयर. तो लाइक if I'm getting a larger player with again a private equity sort of a play at reasonable valuation which is like highly profitable and growing decently, तो वो भी मेरा पिक हो सकता है. तो like there is no, ऐसा नहीं है कि this is the last company coming from this segment, is one more very large that should be 8-10 thousand crore sort of an IPO coming up.
Yep. That is with respect to Horizon Industrial Parks. With that, let me quickly move forward and talk about the fourth company. Just seeing if there are any questions before that. No. Setting up Gaja Alternative Asset Management. Before that, if you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. अगर आपने कोई मिस भी किया है तो हम यहाँ पे ये डाल देंगे, so you can listen at your own valuation. Listen to this at your own leisure. With that, talking about Gaza Alternative Asset Incorporated 1999, companies are independent, homegrown alternative AMC managing category 1 and category 2 AIFs as well as offshore funds. So very closer to home. That's what I also do as a part of my job. These guys are category 2 AIF managers and sponsors. In terms of the IPO, it's a 550 crore IPO, 450 crore of which is fresh issue. Market cap 4,490 crores. Okay. Expensive. Like काफी valuation है. FY26 financials की बात करें तो 158 crores का top line है, 82 crores का bottom line है. So you'll try and understand, but it's coming at some 50 times P. LM की बात करें तो LM, JM and IFLS. So with that, over to you, Sachin, to talk about Gaja Alternative.
Am I audible?
Yep.
All right. I think the MCAP is around 2,300 crores. So उतना महंगा नहीं.
मैंने पुराना वाला टेप दिया होगा यार जब कॉपी किया.
मैंने 2256 है, मैं वही सोचा हूँ कि मैंने क्या गलत पढ़ा है इसे.
मुझे भी लगा कि यार ये तो थोड़ा ज्यादा हो रहा है.
इसमें तो कोई पैसा डालेगा ही नहीं यार, मतलब ठीक है चलो.
All right. So let's begin. So Gaja AMC, or you can say Gaja Capital. So these guys are what you say AMC managers to private listed what you say AIFs हो गए या और उनके जैसे other vehicles हो गए, wealth funds हो गए. So उनको ये manage करता है. Like if we see like जो other AMCs that are present in the market, like those are mutual fund AMCs. Now these guys are managing the private equity players, and in those private equity players, we see that the likely HNIs are investing, domestic funds are investing, and some global, what you say, lead limited partners are all investing in those funds. So those are the people that this Gaja AMC is managing, and from there it generates revenue and XYZ, whatever the revenues and profits it makes. So that is the primary structure of this Gaja AMC. Now these guys are probably the first of its kind that are listing in the market for this private equity AMC part. Globally, there have been some other players like Blackstone का भी एक है, global arm है that is into this private equity AMC. KKR का भी है. So those guys are listed overseas for maybe 20-25 years, etc. So those guys are already present as global peers in this PE AMC space. Now there are three revenue streams for this Gaja AMC. First is that their management fees, which you can say that unki jo salary hai that these guys get to manage those funds. So that is generally around 2% on the committed capital. Like funds ka ek committed capital hota hai. That is the, what you say, the utmost portion that can be deployed into various companies या जहाँ पे भी उनको deploy करना, that is the committed capital. So that is on that committed capital, these guys are getting, Gaja AMC is getting around 2%. So, and that they are getting on quarterly basis. So this is the most stable part of their revenues. Now, the benefit of getting it on committed capital is like the day the capital starts flowing in, like fund is not investing in any of the companies. The Gaja Capital AMC, they start to get their management fees. So that is one thing. Plus, जो भी इनके funds है, those go under various, what you say, close events. Like there comes a first close, then comes a second close, then comes a third close, and final close all happens. Now that the amount that is what you say, the committed capital is the sum of all of these closes. So the portion that can be, what you say, raised in one or two goes, that can be small, but the committed capital is the large portion, and the benefit here is that these guys are getting the management fees on that large portion. Three funds they are actively managing now, fund 2, 3 and 4, and one fund 5 is also in active discussions that is coming along. That is around 2500 corpus ka ek wo fund hai, and they are also planning to add one secondaries fund. So वहां से भी इनको, what you say, management fees आनी चाहिए. So मोटामोटी if you roughly calculate, around, what you say, around 60 CR is their current management fees. Around, maybe if we just calculate on their current percentage basis, around 100 CR plus इनको और आनी चाहिए in the years to come. The second revenue stream for these guys is the carried interest. Like the funds, whatever the profits those funds are making, those are under, what you say, those are under first the hurdle rate. Like hurdle rate is like the basic minimum that those funds have to generate on the capital. And after that, whatever the portion is left, or whatever the portion that is being generated by those funds, usme these Gaja Capital AMC guys get some portion. Like they get a share of portion of the profits that the funds are making after the hurdle rate has passed in. So that is around 20% of their revenues. Now, and in that case also, these guys are following a good structure. If you say, like, these guys are following a European waterfall model. Like European waterfall में क्या होता है, like जो भी entire funds का जो भी पैसा that is invested in whatever deals, like कोई deal profitable होगी, कोई deal profitable नहीं होगी. So the carry portion will only come when the entire fund reaches that hurdle rate. Like जब तक वो पूरा fund उस hurdle rate को cross नहीं करेगा, तब तक इनको अपना carry portion नहीं मिलेगा. It's good for these guys as well as for the people who have invested in that fund. And this revenue has steadily grown from FY24, it was 18 CR, and now in FY26, it's around 75 CR. But the, what do you say, the issue with this carry is that this generally takes a large portion. Yeah, it generally becomes large when there are exits in those respective funds. Like वो funds जिन positions, जिन companies में वो funds ने invest किया है, जब वो उनको exit करेगा, then that large portion of profit will come in, then that will flow to Gaja Capital. So that should be kept in mind while evaluating, or what you say, projecting what these guys will do in this category. And the third and final thing where these guys are getting revenue share and profit share is the sponsor commitment. Like Gaja is investing their own capital in whatever the funds that is it is managing. Around 6.5% it has invested in the prior funds, and it is set to grow this in fund 4 and fund 5 to around 8% plus. SEBI का mandate है कि 2.5 to 3% ही करना है, and these guys are growing to 8% plus, so that is a positive. And this income has also steadily grown from FY24, it was around 7 CR. In FY25, it dropped because one time इनका जो पूरा capital था, तो वो इस समय distribute, what you say, the close happened on ऑल ऑफ द फंड्स, तो वो वहां पे जो क्लोज हुआ था तो उसकी वजह से स्पॉन्सर कमिटमेंट इनका ड्रॉप हो गया था, बट द मैनेजमेंट फीस डबल्ड अप ऑन दैट फ्रंट. एंड इन FY26 व्हेन द स्टेबल ईयर केम इन, तो वापस से वो 17 CR हो गया था. And this likely reflects that जो भी ये funds में these guys are managing and whatever the companies those funds are investing in, so उसका portfolio health कैसा है. So that is the right reflection for this sponsor commitment. And now coming to their financials, this will look slightly distorted because three things are flowing from here and there, but from around what you say 104 CR in total income in FY24, they have grown to around 158 CR in FY26, and generally 40-45% is their what you say expense ratio. So PAT margin optically looks high because और कोई expense है नहीं इनका, एक full consolidated expense ratio है, so that is around 45%, and whatever the rest is 52-55%, that is their PAT portion. If you compare it with those large AMCs etc, तो ये generally high लगेगा, but that is the not right comparison if we say. Now operating cash flow, if someone is checking like इन लोग का operating cash flow क्यों कम है जब इतना अच्छा these guys are making on the profit part, that is due to the accounting thing, like जो भी whatever these guys are making on that carry and sponsor commitment, whenever those values hit the books of Gaja Capital, so those values are recorded on fair value basis. So and those values are not actually realized until the exit happens, like these guys do not get cash until the final exit happens. So until that those values remain in the P&L. They generally attribute to the profit after tax, but those generally do not flow into the cash flow etc. So for that reason only that cash flow looks negative. Other than that there is no reason. These guys also had some what you say pre-IPO in last year, in June 2025, around 144 per share, where we saw like Inam Group came in, Jagdish Master came in, HDFC Life, SBI Life, all these guys came in, and that was around 1700 CR of valuation, and now the MCAP is around 2300 CR. And this is also due to the fact that FY26 was a relatively good year than FY24 and FY25. Now coming to a brief on what their funds are doing, like fund 2, 3 and 4. Fund 2 ka like most of the carry has happened in fund 2, and it is at the end of its life cycle. Because of these, which we see that FY26 में a large carry came in. Fund 3 and Fund 4, Fund 4 is into still active development, around 62 is deployed and the rest is being actively deployed. And on that Fund 4, these guys are making around 27-28% IRR. This is fairly good, like it's very good IRR these guys are making. And this is a general trend over the last few years. From 2021 they have started, and they are into 2026, that is the IRR these guys are making. Fund 3, which will be the likely portion for which the carry income will come in the years to come, like FY27 में आएगा कुछ, FY28 में like they will exit some positions and all. So those will be the carry portion that will come in, and उसी से the sponsor capital will gain much of the traction. If those exits what those funds are making, those are profitable exits for Gaja Capital. Now what these guys are saying that now in Fund 3, we also, just to name some names, like in Fund 3, there was Fractal Analytics was one of the portfolio companies of this Gaja Capital, which recently listed. Express Peace is there, Suryodaya Capital is Suryodaya SFB, that is one of the fund companies. Lead Squared is one of the fund companies. Similar names you see in Fund 4 as well, which is into active deployment. In the past they have exited, like Team List maybe इनका कुछ portion था in for Gaja Capital. Avendes Capital, these guys sold to KKR, and that was a good exit. John Distilleries, maybe these guys had some portion. So these were the what you say prominent names that they exited, and they are some of them these names they are holding. Now what now flows down is how we value this company. Was just like that Credent Connect, there is no what you say peer-to-peer valuation for these companies, because it's generally different that what you say a mutual fund AMC. So if you just look on what you say price to earnings, it's around 22 to 23 times, and those mutual fund AMCs, those trade north of what you say 40-42 times. But those guys are generally large in lakhs of crores AUM. These guys have, while Gaja is on 7,000 CR or so of AUM. Now what we can check is like global peers में काफी valuation metrics are present. Like there is one metric, what you say, price to fee retained earnings, like जो उनका management fees है, that is the most stable portion. So on that basis, we multiply it with certain number of multiple, and we get the market cap that these guys should actively trade. So that is around 33 times. If we look at the forward basis, like forward में इनका 7,000 CR का कुछ AUM बनेगा, and on that they will get a certain 2% or 3% जो भी management fees बनेगा, and if on that we multiply the global multiple of 33 times of this price to fee retained, what you say, management fees का जो multiple है, that we multiply, so we get a fair value of around 26 to 2700 CR of market cap that these guys should trade, which is around, what you say, 10%, 15% more than the IPO market cap. So that is a fair value, I think, where these guys should actually trade. Like जो lowest priced AMC है in the mutual fund, I think it's UTI. So that trades around 28, 29 times, and these guys are coming 22. So maybe though that is a tiny gap that these guys should make eventually. This is how the fund actually performs. Now coming to the positives, like I mentioned that जो उनका IR है in fund 4, that is actively good, and in fund 2 and fund 3 as well. Basis the reports that are present in the RSP, the IRR is in the top quartile, like in the top 25% of IRR companies over 9 to 10 years. Their fund 2 and fund 3 have made. So that is one good part. European waterfall, these guys are following, and their partners who invest in those funds which Gaja Capital manages, wo global partners. So that is one thing positive as well. Plus the benefit that AIF industry is already flourishing, and basis whatever market reports are actually available, it is proposed to go around 20-25% CAGR. So that is a big number for an industry as a whole to grow in. Now some of the red flags, like how do you project whatever these guys are making going forward? So that can be questionable. FY26 was largely a good year, and then we saw the IPO happening, so that is likely factored into the IPO valuation as well. Plus one thing I feel that कि जो funds हैं which are private equity funds, we as listed investors won't get much, what you say, transparency or disclosures like what those funds are actually investing in. We would only get disclosures in what this AMC is supposedly disclosing, and if they chose to disclose more, then it's equally good. But if it doesn't happen, that's a slight gap that I see in this Gaja Capital. Also say that they are launching a one secondaries fund, so that is very different from what these guys are actually managing. Like that is one funds of funds that they are going into that space. So uske liye they have apportioned some IP proceeds as well. So that is one new thing that will go into this Gaja Capital, and that's they have hired some personnel for managing that, but that's a new, what you say, venture that these guys are trying to get into. Anchor book is yet to arrive, but this is whatever the pre-IPO names came in, and how articulate Mr. Gopal Jain is in explaining, and he's probably a industry veteran in managing these funds. So I think that should be good, and then some traction should develop in this issue. So for the final thing, I think that business to अच्छा है, quality is also present, but just that you do not get year on year projections या वो ample projections आपके पास नहीं होंगे, like what the near term could be or what the future could be. Honestly, the management fee is the stable portion, so उसी के basis पे these guys should actually valued, and on top of that whatever we get as sponsor and commitment, so that is the additional benefit we should see. So for now I'll keep a hold personally on this IPO. That's all. Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. You audible now.
Yeah, perfect. I think I'll first take a question before further. There was a question that why does a AMC need fresh capital? It's very like opposite of what I've been hearing. Usually, I just hear why do these companies keep doing OFS? So fresh capital, no problem. Fresh capital, no problem. But yeah, I kind of cover why do they like 450 crores for a share because इनको अपना जो नया फंड चालू करना है उसमें स्पॉन्सर कमिटमेंट डालना है 5% इज
Exactly,
द मिनिमम विद
exactly.
इन
So,
पोर्शन वो भी वो
so
बोले कि आईपीओ वाले में से ही डलवा लेंगे सो इन अ वे
right,
public is funding everything while they get to keep the 75% of the company
right,
which is like
right,
out of the world brilliant. But yeah, the promoter quality is very good. Their investments are very good. I was seeing some of their investments. They are also invested in Servam AI,
right.
which will do well. They also had invested in Theobroma, which just got an exit. Avendus they had invested in. Kinara Capital they have done. So good investments, basically good understanding of the segment. But this is not a segment which probably will be fancy by equity investors because you don't know. Like, uh, the more you know, the more predictable the cash flows would be, and the more better earnings, times earnings you will get, right? But this guy would be difficult to predict, right? Because cash
Right,
flows will always be lumpy. You
right,
don't know the exit कब होगा होगा नहीं होगा. And like, see, what might also happen is कि we don't know, right? But there is enough visibility for everyone that this is when the IPO. So it might do well as well. So it will we'll have to follow what institutions are doing here on this one. Very difficult to form a view of own per se, but yeah, in the long term, I somehow don't like this segment. This reminds me of a dam capital. Like very wrong comparison. Shouldn't be compared with dam because dam just died. This will probably not die, but this is one of those segments which will go through ups and downs and then like market will be very wary at times कि भाई क्या हो रहा है इस company में visibility नहीं है. Then there will be times when results will just outperform and then the stock will go all over the place. So difficult to say. So I'll apply for IPO, but then that would probably be it. I'll apply for IPO on the last day if there's enough QIB. That is how I kind of.
I feel we can also look at Edelweiss is also going public, I guess, mostly next month. Edelweiss Alternatives, that is a 300 crore PAT company. So even I feel that should set a benchmark about like where this company should trade at.
It's good that these alternative companies are also finally coming public. It helps. Uh,
Correct.
to form a market for others. Edelweiss will be all OFS though, right? Or will they also do
Yeah,
equity?
even this is an OFS, that's a team OFS, just like IG ad.
It is not a deemed OFS. Like, हाँ वैसे हाँ OFS ही है मतलब
मतलब, I
sponsor
think, yeah, it
sponsor
can be
का साथ
harsh
साथ
word,
वो
but it
हाँ
is not very different than that also.
हाँ OFS ही है ना यार ये के हिसाब से बोलो कि भाई मेरे को म्यूचुअल फंड में 100 रुपए डालने तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि तुम पहले मेरी जगह पे 100 रुपए डाल दो पर वो डले तो मेरे ही ना इन वे लाइक इट्स माय कमिटमेंट राइट स्पॉन्सर्स कमिटमेंट सो इट्स ओएफएस ओनली अच्छे तरीके से बट
नहीं,
यार
मतलब आई फील है आप अगर देखो ना हाउ ग्लोबली दिस लाइक सेगमेंट हैज ऑपरेटेड दिस alternatives or such products have actually done quite well, but obviously when it comes to equity investment in those products in the parent companies, like it has been very lumpy. Few have done extremely well, few have few have died and like maybe trading at very super degraded multiples. So let's see how this pans, but yeah, like the promoter quality is quite good. The investments they have made, I would say, 8 on 10 hit rate. Uh, they have got very good exits very recently. Like Theo Brahma was picked by Chris Cap. Lead Square is again most probably getting going public next year. Navi Tech they are invested, that should go public in March April next year. These are one of their large investments. Fractal went public. So like quite decent, but obviously I feel इनका जो वो एक एक रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम है दैट इज लाइक जस्ट ऑन अ परफॉर्मेंस बेसिस, बाकी दो मेरे हिसाब से स्टेबल रहनी चाहिए. एंड देयर न्यू
नहीं
फंड
दो
शुड
नहीं दो नहीं
अगेन
दो नहीं एक स्टेबल रहना चाहिए
एक
मैनेजमेंट
स्टेबल
फी
रहना चाहिए. सॉरी, मैं जो अपना
स्पॉन्सर की
मैनेजमेंट फी है
स्पॉन्सर
वही है.
कमिटमेंट ऑल्सो डिपेंड स्पॉन्सर का गेंस का डिपेंड ऑन कि भाई फंड कैसा चल रहा है बट दे हैव
हम्म.
डन 27% 28% IRR over long period which is insanely good like I know of a lot of private VC funds which do like 13 14 15% and are very happy with that kind of return so if they can do 27% nothing like it maybe
Correct.
their AMC is the like their AIF is the product to look at, not this share per se. But yeah, with that we'll move forward and talk about one last company very quickly. Setting up Lalitha Jewellery Mart incorporated in 1985. Very old company. So it's 40 years old. Company is a jewelry retail company with strong regional presence across South India, catering primarily to the mass and value conscious customer segment. गोल्ड ज्वेलरी कंपनी है. B2C है. आईपीओ की बात करें तो 1700 करोड़ का आईपीओ है, 1200 करोड़ फ्रेश इशू, 500 करोड़ का ओएफएस. मार्केट कैप 11,250 करोड़ पे आ रही है कंपनी. सो अराउंड 15% का डाइल्यूशन है. FY26 फाइनेंशियल्स की बात करूं तो 25,000 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन था, 1,000 करोड़ का बॉटम था, सो 4% पैक मार्जिन and just 11 times FY26. Although that number is hugely depressed 11 times because of a few commodity gains. We'll try and understand. LM is Anand Rathi and Equirus. So with that, over to you, Tanmay, to talk about Lalitha, Jewellery, Mart.
Yeah, so I feel this should be an interesting analysis as a whole, because I feel many I know were very surprised when I had written a word in my IPO thing, and like I feel this is my time to speak. Why is it so? So Lalitha Jewelry is the third largest company in the South India in the space of jewelry retail, as a whole. They've got three, four specialities. One is the most interesting and unique part about this company, in which we as a consumer or customers would love to see, is they sell the jewelry 5 to 10%, I would say 3 to 8% cheaper than what other retail guys do. Now one will say, ये कैसे हो सकता है? Gold तो सस्ता मिलता नहीं है. This is for three simple reasons. Ek, which is the major reason, which is like 80% of the contributor. How other players operate is, let's say this is Kalyan. Kalyan has a army of 30 to 40 B2B jewelry suppliers who make for Kalyan. Then Kalyan buys it and then retails it to the end consumer. But between this, the B2B partner charges a margin, gross margin between 6-7% till 14-15%, averagely 8-9% pakad lo, which is going to go as a making charge and as a wastage charge or some other blah blah hidden charges to the customers, जो pass on हो जाएगा. So if you're buying a gold thing worth, let's say, ₹1,00,000, you end up spending between 110 to 120 till 125 also in few large national retailers. Though Lalitha manufactures 85% of its complete revenue ornaments in house. इसके दो facilities, out of which one has recently went live. तो ये जो आर्बिट्राज है ना मेकिंग चार्जेस का, ये कस्टमर को पूरा पास ऑन कर देता है. तो फॉर दैट सिंपल रीजन, लाइक 5 to 7%, 8% वो चीप बेचता है ना. आपको एक सिंपल एग्जांपल में दूंगा. सो दिस इज अ प्रैक्टिकल रियल एग्जांपल. लाइक 2 months back I had purchased a gold ring worth some 1,20,000, कुछ 7-8 ग्राम का जो भी था, फ्रॉम TBZ त्रिभुवनदास भीमजी सवेर, विच इज अ लिस्टेड कंपनी. उनका मेकिंग चार्ज उस पर 16% था, विच वॉज इंसेनली हाई फॉर अ गोल्ड रिंग of that carat. And for like, it was a obviously 22 carat thing, but it was insanely high. 16% मेरे को लगा, because even I am a regular customer in PNG जहाँ पे इतना चार्ज नहीं होता है, but then I thought कि पसंद आगे ले लेते हैं. But when you just check that on Lalitha, the making charges 3-4-5%, 4-5%. So technically, like in case if that was a 1 lakh rupee ring, I have spent like 13-14,000 more just because I bought it from TBZ. So this is what is the speciality of the company. Second ये है कि they don't rely or rather do heavy advertisements. You will find maybe a Kalyan or a PN Gadgil or a Malabar, bringing lot of very, expensive, I feel like top end celebrities to like do advertisements and to inaugurate. Let's say every PN Gadgil you are going to see Madhuri Dixit or, some Marathi star or some Ranveer Kapoor very recently. And there is a fee to pay, to these guys. The promoter, Kiran Kumarjan itself, is a brand ambassador of the company, and their advertisement as the percentage of revenue is lowest in the industry, which is at 0.3%, whereas peers are between 0.8 to 1.8, 1.9%. तो दैट इज सेकंड थिंग. एंड थर्ड इज, यार उनका ना स्ट्रक्चर बड़ा लीन है. मतलब ऑब्वियसली मेनी अदर प्लेयर आल्सो डू दिस, बट दिस गाय आल्सो डज इट लाइक ऑन अ वेरी लार्ज स्केल. इज वो लीज करता है, वो लैंड ओन नहीं करता. आउट ऑफ देयर 61, सो लाइक 64 बोल लो, बिकॉज 4 हैव ऑलरेडी वेंट लाइव इन दिस फाइनेंशियल ईयर आफ्टर द आरएचपी. सो 64 में से जस्ट 3 स्टोर्स आर ओन्ड, बाकी सब लीज्ड है. And another good thing is zero franchisee. It is all COCO model, company owned, company operated, zero franchisees. So for these 3.5 reasons, इसका जो ज्वेलरी है वो दूसरों से सस्ता आता है. Second good thing is these guys operate into the value, cautious segment at a mass market. And also इनका 65% stores are in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, जहाँ पे इनका बड़ा leadership है. So like I recently, last month only, I went to Chennai. I've seen, crazy sort of a brand recall and hoardings and all, stores for Lalitha. So South में बहुत बड़ा नाम है, मतलब South का Titan है basically. But then there are some risks also to this company. एक है कि यार इनका 93% रेवेन्यू आता है आपका प्योर 22-24 कैरेट गोल्ड ज्वेलरी से. 18 to 22 इनका, वो 18 के नीचे का सेगमेंट है ही नहीं, 18 भी कम है इनका. 6% आता है आपका सिल्वर ऑर्नामेंट से, और जो 1% है वो आपका आता है स्टडेड से, विच इज द लोएस्ट ऑफ द लोएस्ट इन द इंडस्ट्री. मतलब मारा से मारा प्लेयर 3-4% स्टडेड करता है. पीएन गडगिल डज इट लाइक 7%, सेनको इज एट 11-12%, कल्याण 13-14% है, टाइटन उससे भी ज्यादा है. दिस गाइज एट 1%, फॉर द वेरी सिंपल रीजन. एक तो साउथ में जो कल्चर है ऑफ लो कैरेट एंड लाइट वेट ज्वेलरी अब तक नहीं है. सेकंड इज दीज गाइज आर इनटू दैट मास मार्केट, जहां पे अगेन ये कॉन्सेप्ट आने को शायद और 10 साल लग जाए मिनिमम. So this is again a risk, underlying in that positive thing of, operating in that sort of a market. अभी इसमें एक और चीज ये कि द मार्केट शेयर विच दिस कंपनी हैज, ठीक है, आप अगर इसका एक देखोगे कि मार्केट शेयर इन साउथ इंडिया ये कितना है, तो इसका FY24 में द नंबर was 6.46%. FY25 में that fell to 5.13, and FY26 it is at 4.97. Again, FY27 it should be around that 4.6-4.7% mark. So they're continuously losing market share in the South India for very simple reason. The other jewelry retailers, the pan-India jewelry retailers, and also the regional jewelry retailers, maybe a Malabar. Obviously, Malabar is now again very larger than Titan itself. And terms of at least jewelry standalone, like small players like Manoj Vaibhav, Bhima is again a very large player. Bhima is again a 2013, he has a 30-40,000 crore company. Joss Alucas, again Senko is gaining some. Kalyan is gaining very big in South. And also a few very regional guys doing extraordinary in the South. So there is a stiff competition. अब मैं थोड़ा और कंपनी पे अगर बात करूं तो दे हैव गॉट 61 स्टोर्स. दिस इज लाइक FY26 का एंड 31st March. तब अगेन इनका 3 और स्टोर लाइव गया. करंटली द रियल नंबर इज 64, बट जस्ट कंसिडरिंग 61 टिल द डेट ऑफ टिल 31st March of 2026. 51 लोकेशंस में है ये, आउट ऑफ विच मेजोरिटी आर इन तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, कर्नाटक, और एक स्टोर पौंडीचेरी में. उसके अलावा दे चार्ज वन ऑफ द लोवेस्ट मेकिंग चार्जेस. वेस्टेज चार्जेस इनका बेयरली एनीथिंग होता है. अगेन थर्ड पार्टी आउटसोर्सिंग कम करते हैं. दे इनका 19 या 20% जो रेवेन्यू आता है दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द एडवांसेस. जो आपका ये स्कीम्स होती है, धन वंदनम एंड फ्री ऑफ फ्लेक्सी करके इनकी 2 स्कीम्स है. 19.8% रेवेन्यू आता है. They are like raising 1700 crores, out of which 1200 fresh है, 500 OFS है. Market cap is at 11,250 crores. इनके फाइनेंशियल्स पे मैं आता हूँ तो यार ये ना बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग से फाइनेंशियल्स है. सो लाइक वन हैज टू लिसन एट दीज फाइनेंशियल्स क्वाइट वेल, क्योंकि लाइक दिस इज वेयर द क्रक्सेस ऑफ दिस कंपनी. So I'll just tell you the numbers. FY24, the company has done around 16,788 crore sort of a operating revenue. FY25 they did 16,897 crore revenue, which was a 0.6% का growth. FY26 they did 25,023 crore का revenue, which was a 48% sort of a growth. Now one mind से यार ये बहुत अच्छा है. Now like talking on the volume part, which is where the public markets, at least markets from last 3 quarters, are valuing gold company, not 3 quarters, but maybe a 2 quarter, is the volume growth. FY24, 26,019 kg, 1919 kg gold sold. FY25 में the number fell to 21,532, जो 17% का degrowth था. FY27 में the number है 21,691, which is a growth of 0.8%, like barely again anything. So it is all the commodity increase and the gold price increase, which is imminent, मतलब सभी प्लेयर्स के लिए सिमिलर है. अभी प्रॉब्लम, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम पे तो लाइक पहली बात मैं EBITDA पे आ जाता हूँ. FY24 the EBITDA was 680 crores. FY25 740 crores, FY26 1673 crores. So the EBITDA margin going from 4 to 4.4% से लेके 6.7% just before the IPO. और आपका पैट 2.14 2.16 से सीधा 4.04 हो जाता है. नाउ सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न इस कंपनी में बताता हूं क्या है. 0% हेजिंग. 0% हेजिंग. पूरा ये अनहेज रखता है अपनी इन्वेंट्री. सो इससे होता क्या है, दीज गाइज मेक लॉट ऑफ मनी बाय गेनिंग ऑन द कमोडिटी साइकिल. गोल्ड ऊपर जाता जाता है तो दे गाइज डू दिस फीफो मॉडल. मतलब तो लाइक व्हाट दे डू इज, इनका इन्वेंटरी साइकिल तो होता है आपका बड़ा होता है, 120 दिन का साइकिल होता है. तो दीज गाइज व्हाट दे डू इज की लाइक लेट्स से 100 का मिला है, मार्केट 105 107 जा रहा है, तो दे आर नॉट प्लेइंग ऑन दैट fundamental making charges and all that, but they're making on the inventory gains. So like if you just look at what all other players are, जो big retailers है, be it Kalyan or be it Titan, these guys are on 80 to 100% hedge. शायद 100 ही हो गए दोनों. PN Gadgil was at 30-40%, now is at 80% plus. सेनको 0 पे था. सेनको का स्टॉक मतलब मार के उसको 8p पे ले गया. अभी कंपनी ने फाइनली 50% 55% हेजिंग पे वो जा चुके हैं. The companies which are at less or no hedging are trading at 510p, which are at hedging are trading well high. This guy is at zero hedging, and I'm just thinking कि hedge करने को costing कितना बैठेगा. आप मान के चलो the cost of hedging should be anywhere between 0.9% to 1.2% of the revenue. ये industry standard बोल लो, average बोल लो, this shouldn't be beyond this range. तो अगर इसको 25,000 करोड़ का revenue को hedge करना है, which is again like 200-250 crore sort of hedging ka expense, and the margins which are at 6.7% will go back to those 4 से 4.5% EBITDA. The PAT margin will fall from 4% to 2.1 2.2%, which is again back to the historical level. और तब डेट 600 करोड़ था, आज 1600 करोड़ है, और ये डेट और बढ़ने वाला है. रीजन इज वेरी सिंपल. व्हेन यू पुट दोज एक्सपेंसेस, 250 करोड़ आप करते हो, कंपनी उसको इजीली चर्न करेगी 2.5 से 3 गुना साल का. मतलब दैट इज अगेन गोइंग टू हिट अराउंड 700 करोड़ ऑफ रेवेन्यू वेरी इजीली. एंड आपको उतना वर्किंग कैपिटल डेट से फंड करना पड़ा, विच इज अनदर 200 करोड़. तो उसको 15 करोड़ का एक्स्ट्रा इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट लग जाएगा उनको. तो व्हाट दे आर डूइंग इज, एंड ऑल्सो वर्किंग कैपिटल स्ट्रेच हो जाता है व्हेन यू हेज थिंग्स. देयर इज अ कॉस्ट ऑफ हेजिंग. तो देयर आर 2 कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज और नुआंसेस हियर. एक, कंपनी जैसा मॉडल है वैसे पे ही काम करेगा. बट इफ दिस हैपेंस, they will see lot of inventory losses coming in the H1, which will again derate the stock insanely. अगर ये hedge करने का सोचते हैं, which is I feel ideally right, again the margins goes for a toss, but the business model remains linear and remains resilient. इससे क्या होगा, इनका वो वापस back to the historical levels मार्जिन चले जाएंगे. तो आपका जो 1000 करोड़ का क्रेजी पैट दिख रहा है वो गिर के 750 हो जाएगा. दैट ऑल्सो ऑन अ बुल केस. आई डोंट फील 750 भी होना, स्टिल आई एम कंसीडरिंग इट एज अ बुल केस. थोड़ा उससे नीचे होना चाहिए, आसपास होना चाहिए, बॉल पार्क 50 आगे पीछे. सो लाइक आई एम कंसीडरिंग 1 to 2% revenue, same stores volume growth, and like I'm very surprised at this. इन्होंने same store sales growth दिया नहीं, which is a very important metric है ना, gold जो retail chain, जो इन्होंने बिल्कुल देना चाहिए था. आर्च में I'm like pretty surprised, and like I feel it is not a good sign. ये क्यों नहीं दिया अपने? I cannot understand this. So if I consider SSVG, which is same store volume growth, I'm considering it at 1.5% to 1.8% on the existing stores, and another 2.5% coming on from the new 8-9 stores which are set to go live in FY20 current financial year. उसमें से 4 हो चुके हैं. तो अगर मैं उनको एड अप करता हूँ, and I just consider 150 days sort of an inventory with like 56-70% sales, तो मोटा मोटी वहां से इनका 800 करोड़ के आसपास का रेवेन्यू आना चाहिए, which would be a 3.5% sort of a spike on the current same gold level. So अगर मैं उसको थोड़ा गोल्ड लेवल को एलिवेट करता हूँ, जो आई फील नहीं होना चाहिए, बिकॉज लाइक आई एक्सपेक्ट अभी गोल्ड थोड़ा स्टेबल रहना चाहिए फॉर नेक्स्ट 6 months इज व्हाट आई एक्सपेक्ट. तो बाय द वे नो वन कैन प्रेडिक्ट दिस, इज व्हाट माय अजम्पशंस आर. तो इसका अगेन FY27 विल हैव लाइक 20 से लेके 23-24% सॉर्ट ऑफ रेवेन्यू ग्रोथ. तो इनका रेवेन्यू 25,000 करोड़ से 32,500 32,000 33,000 करोड़ पहुंच जाएगा. मान के चलो 32-33 के आसपास पहुंच जाएगा, कंसीडरिंग average gold price at 1,45,000 for the whole year, and which is a 4.6-4.7% volume growth. और इसका पैट फिर गिर के हो जाता है अराउंड 750 से 800 करोड़। अगर ये हेजिंग करता है तो ये 750 के आसपास ही रुक जाएगा, एंड इफ इट पार्शियली एडजस्ट और मेक्स द स्ट्रक्चर मोर लीनियर, और थोड़ा बहुत ये एट लाइक व्हाट आई फील अ गुड थिंग इज दिस गाय ऑपरेट्स एट वन ऑफ द लोवेस्ट मेकिंग चार्जेस। तो ये जो वो 1.5% का जो हेजिंग कॉस्ट ना, वो श्योरली पास ऑन कर सकता है टू द कस्टमर, विच इज लाइक इवन आई वाज एट दिस प्लेस, आई हैव डन द सेम। 1% तो मैं जरूर पास कर सकता हूँ, फॉर अ सिंपल रीजन कि अगर एक जगह पे एक चीज 100 की मिल रही है, एक चीज 110 की मिल रही है, पीपल आर गोइंग फॉर 100 बिकॉज ऑफ द सिंपल रीजन कि वो सस्ता मिल रहा है। बट वो 100 का 102 भी हो जाता है ना, पीपल विल कंटिन्यू टू बाय एट फॉर 102 बिकॉज इट इज स्टिल चीप। तो I feel that 1.5% will be passed on, like, and this is what ideally it should be, how this is how businesses work. But even if he stays at those resilient margins post hedging, इसका पैट आता है अराउंड 800 करोड़, which is I feel थोड़ा बुल केस है, 760 780 के आसपास होना चाहिए। Again, FY28, I expect, like 5% volume growth for 5 new stores. And again, the SSVG at like 3%. तो आपका 1,60,000 का मैंने पकड़ा, ऑब्वियसली एनालिस्ट एक्सपेक्ट 1.65, बट अगेन लाइक कंजर्वेटिव चलते थोड़ा, तो अगेन दैट शुड बी अ 20%, लेस देन 20%, 17-18% वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ, तो 38,000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू हो जाएगा। और आपका अभी जो FY20 का पैट है वो पैट आ जाएगा FY28 का, जो 1,000 मेरा 20-30 करोड़ का प्रोडिक्शन निकलता है। तो लाइक आप ये समझो कि यू आर बाइंग अ कंपनी जिसका 1,000 करोड़ के पैट में से 450 करोड़ तो खाली इन्वेंट्री का गेन है, 400-450 करोड़ जो डिप्लीट हो जाएगा, क्योंकि अभी तो कमोडिटी साइकिल चलने नहीं वाले। ऐसा नहीं होगा ना कि जो 1.30 का सोना अचानक से 1.50 हो जाता है मगर आई विल मेक इन्वेंट्री गेन, नहीं हो सकता है। दिस इज नॉट सस्टेनेबल इन नेचर, एंड दिस इज एमिनेंट। अब सेनको का परसों का रिजल्ट देख लो, you'll understand the margins of EBITDA margins falling from 11% to 7%, and the management saying कि full year का 7.7 7.5 के ऊपर नहीं जाएगा हमारा, considering the hedging cost as well। देखो कहाँ पे स्टॉक है, स्टॉक इज ट्रेडिंग एट 7.8 times FY28 PAT, and like less than like around at 10 times FY27। This guy is coming at आप समझो like 11.5 times FY28 PN Gadgil, which is a much more better player with like crazy SSSG growth, crazy volume growth, with much more pricing power, and with is trading at like 11.5 times FY28 P. This guy is at similar 12 times। तो आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड ये इसके ऊपर कितना जाएगा। ऑब्वियसली अभी ऑप्टिकल इट लुक्स लाइक एट 11p, तो शायद मार्केट 10-20% चला देंगे शॉर्टर टर्म, वो अपने हाथ में नहीं है, बट इट मेक्स नो सेंस कि यहां से ऊपर जाएगा। आई विल मेंशन फ्यू मोर पॉइंटर्स। यार स्टडीड मिक्स, अगेन वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, स्टडीड मिक्स एट 1%। अभी गोल्ड कंपनीज को ना यार 2-3 रीजन से प्रीमियम मिलता है। प्रीमियम मतलब वैल्यूएशन मिलती है अच्छी। एक, एट व्हाट ज्योग्राफी ऑपरेट। इंडियन रिटेल मार्केट में साउथ इज द ज्योग्राफी जिसको सबसे कम वैल्यूएशन मिलता है, नॉर्थ और फिर पैन इंडिया रीजन को सबसे ज्यादा मिलता है। पीएन गार्डिकल ट्रेड्स एट स्लाइटली डिस्काउंट टू ऑल कल्याण वल्याण, बट ग्रेटर देन सेनको जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द ज्योग्राफी महाराष्ट्र है, जो बहुत प्रीमियम मार्केट है, एंड यू कैन मेक लॉट ऑफ गुड मार्जिन यहाँ पे। एंड इसके साथ प्रॉब्लम सिंपल है यार, दिस गाइज केटरिंग टू प्राइस कॉशियस बायर्स। ये अपना 3-4% महंगा कर देता है, ये लूज लॉट ऑफ कस्टमर्स, दे कैन नॉट गो बियॉन्ड एट 1-2%। तो इसको अपर कैप है जो इनको नहीं है बिल्कुल। कल्याण 2% 4% महंगा बेचता है, टाइटन बेचता है, सेनको बेचता है, पीएन गडगिल बेचता है, कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता कस्टमर को, बिकॉज इट इज दैट इज दीज आर नॉट प्राइस कॉशियस कंज्यूमर, बिकॉज उनका 80-90% जो रेवेन्यू है वो टीयर 1 से आता है। दिस गाय इज एट 34% टीयर 1। एक तो मेरा साउथ में है जहां पे हम कम मल्टीपल मिलता है, मैं ऊपर से टीयर 2 टीयर 3 में हूँ, ऊपर से मैं प्राइस कॉशियस भी हूँ। मेरा स्टडीड मिक्स 1% है जहां पे इंडस्ट्री 5 से 15% के बीच में है, and my studded mix was 2.2% in FY24, which has went to 1.6% in FY25 and 1% in FY26, और 1 से नीचे आ जाएगा FY26 जो मेरे को ट्रेंड दिख रहा है। उसके अलावा यार अगेन इसमें क्या है, बहुत सारा कंपटीशन आ रहा है, फाइनेंशियल्स आर गोइंग टू फॉल फ्रॉम ईयर, वॉलेटिलिटी एंड वॉलेटिलिटी बहुत ज्यादा रहेगी मार्जिन के अंदर एट द नेट प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी। एंकर बुक में देख रहा था, wasn't very happy with the anchor book। मतलब एक ओडीआई फंड गोल्डमैन सैक्स ओडीआई 100 करोड़ लेके कर क्या रहा है, again, again, couple, two, three good names I saw with ICICI Prudential with the largest 100 crore sort of allocation. I saw Bandhan, I saw Bank of India, and I saw Mukul Agrawal जी. ये चार मेरे को ठीक नाम लगे, बट जिनके पास ज्यादा लोकेशन एक्सेप्ट बंधन एंड आईसीआईसीआई वो बिल्कुल क्वालिटी नेम्स नहीं है. तो सुंदर was another good name, but obviously South थोड़ा relatable है, so I would discount Sundaram being in that anchor book. So मेरा व्यू बड़ा सिंपल है यार. लाइक गुड थिंग्स अगेन, ये कि लीन बिजनेस मॉडल है, मास मार्केट्स पे होल्ड है, इन हाउस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करता है, स्केल बहुत बड़ा है. 25, मैं कितना भी आप अच्छा बुरा बोल दूं, 25,000 करोड़ बहुत बड़ा जायंट ह्यूज स्केल है. ब्रांड रिकॉल बहुत अच्छा है, प्राइसिंग ऑब्वियसली कॉम्पिटिटिव, वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस दिस. तो मेरा व्यू बड़ा सिंपल है यार इस पे. लाइक आई डोंट एक्सपेक्ट दिस स्टॉक टू गो एनीवेयर. ना ऊपर जाएगा ना नीचे जाएगा, ये इधर ही पड़ा रहेगा फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम टिल मार्केट is very clear about the future hedging policies and future profitability, because ये 1,000 करोड़ पर सस्टेनेबल है ही नहीं. कोई बड़ी बात नहीं इसका FY28 1,000 करोड़ भी ना है, उससे भी कम है, विच इज वेरी लाइकली, बिकॉज 5% यार इतने एलिवेटेड प्राइजेस पे 5% ग्रोथ विद दैट कॉम्पिटिशन एंड दैट मार्केट एंड दैट मिक्स. And these guys have got very less to no plans going in that 18 carat. If you just look at the consumption in last 6 to 9 months, the lightweight jewelry 18 carat, 14 carat have gained immensely. Immensely they have gained, because now India cannot afford that 24 and 22 carat sort of articles. तो इनका है ही नहीं वो मिक्स एंड अगेन यार, आप मास मार्केट में वो सेगमेंट वो प्रोडक्ट ही नहीं बेच सकते, और आप जो प्रोडक्ट बेच रहे हो उसमें ग्रोथ नहीं है. सो लाइक ओवरऑल आई एम लाइक इट्स अ फैंटास्टिक कंपनी डूइंग वेरी वेल, वेरी लार्ज प्रेजेंस, बट आई एम स्लाइटली स्केप्टिकल अबाउट द आउटलुक ऑफ द कंपनी. मेरे को इसमें स्ट्रक्चरल दिक्कत लगती है. थिंग्स आर नॉट क्लियर ना, मार्केट्स आर वेरी नर्वस अबाउट द स्टॉक्स. तो मुझे लगता है यार ये, और यहाँ से 10-15% सस्ता आता है ना, फिर भी इसको ऐसा देखता है कि अब तो सारे नेगेटिव डिस्काउंटेड है, बट ये प्राइस पे भी सब कुछ डिस्काउंटेड नहीं है. आगे इसमें 10-20% का फॉल आराम से हो सकता है, डाउन साइड इसमें जरूर है. लाइक आई एम हियरिंग फ्रॉम फ्यू पीपल इसकी अपसाइड को तो पता नहीं, डाउन साइड इसमें नहीं, बट आई डिसएग्री, इसमें डाउन साइड भी है. तो दैट्स ऑल ऑन ललिता. आई वोंट बी अप्लाइंग आइदर फॉर लिस्टिंग गेन्स और लॉन्ग टर्म, तो अभी फिलहाल बिल्कुल नहीं. बट या इफ दिस हैपेंस कि मेरे को लाइक 9,000 पे मिलता है कंपनी, और 1-2 क्वार्टर का वो हिट आके चीजें मतलब सुलट जाती है, तो लाइक I might consider it, but currently I've got no plans. And like in Q1, you can expect some inventory losses also. Is like I feel, is what I feel.
थैंक्स तन्मय, बहुत ही अच्छा कंपनी है, बहुत अच्छा सेगमेंट है, जस्ट 3 साल लेट है. Had it been this would have got good valuation, but the cycle is over. So not planning to apply. You had put right कि वॉल्यूम टर्म्स में देखोगे तो गोल्ड सेल हैज बीन डिक्रीजिंग, प्लस साउथ की चेंज, साउथ में जितना कल्चर है ना, लाइक नॉर्थ पीपल आर अ लॉट मोर फैशन ड्रिवन वर्सेस साउथ जस्ट वियरिंग गोल्ड इज अ ट्रेंड, राइट? सो दे डोंट लुक एट लाइक फैशन ज्वेलरी एंड लाइट ग्रामेज ज्वेलरी जिसमें मार्जिन ज्यादा होते हैं. सो दिस विल ऑलवेज
यार साउथ में ना द बिगेस्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट इटसेल्फ इज गोल्ड. वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है उनके लिए. इट इज नॉट अबाउट हैविंग गोल्ड और वियरिंग दैट, इट इज अबाउट इन्वेस्टमेंट.
correct. And so difficult, very difficult. Although the company is good, but yeah.
And you look at how this MVGJ as मनोज वैभव, यार 6P पे कंपनी ट्रेड करती है. वो तो अभी अपना खुद का वो उसने पीएन अपना ये घारगी जैसा खुद का सेगमेंट लॉन्च कर दिया, इंस्टीट्यूशन के साथ मिल लिया, ये कर लिया वो कर लिया. 6P पे कंपनी ट्रेड करती है यार. तो साउथ वालों को नहीं मिलते वैल्यूएशन. ऊपर से वो भी थोड़ा बहुत हेजिंग करता है, ये तो वो भी नहीं करता. तो लाइक यार नॉट हेजिंग इटसेल्फ इज अ -5 P फॉर मी. तो अगेन द प्लेयर्स हु आर हेजिंग, सेनको देखो यार 8P से भी कम, 7.8 FY28 पे है, जो 55% हेज करता है. सेनको इज अ पैन इंडिया प्लेयर यार, एंड दैट डू फिनोमिनली वेल. But again, so like I'm not sure how this guy is going to get. I'm not saying this is expensive, but this is not जहाँ पे growth है, वो भी बात है.
Got it. Let's see. Very like पूरा space कर लिया. Didn't get a very convincing apply on anything. So will be a difficult week this one, but I feel next week would be good. Next week I know
नेक्स्ट वीक को मजा आएगा.
couple of firms. Next week or next right after that would be good. But yeah, this week seems sad.
People are
Got
asking about दूध transmission tomorrow.
नहीं नहीं नहीं, will not do. Already that ship has sailed.
कोई comment दोगे 1-2 मिनट में?
नहीं,
चलो, ठीक है.
you already put your post, right? So with that, thank you so much everyone for joining. We'll come back next week. It's already late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.